Yo, Eddie,
Hey,
what are your thoughts on the Star Wars films in general? Are you a fan?
I'm a big fan of the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah?
Grew up with them. Was really into it.
Oh, that's great. I am a fair weather Star Wars fan, by which I mean I never necessarily fell deep into the lore. I never watched like the Clone Wars. I watched the movies, some of them just once, and move on with my life. So when the sequels got all this backlash and hate from like diehard fans, I was kind of surprised because I was just like, I thought they were fine movies, like. This is an unpopular opinion, but the original Star Wars, I don't think they were ever that great to begin with. No comment?
I want a divorce.
All right. Well, it's just me and Eddie today, and we are talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Star Wars prequels. I'm Rolando.
And I'm Eddie.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals,
An original podcast
about unoriginality. All right, another week without Nicole, but yes, sorry guys, but she's in Disney World living her best life.
As we talk about a Disney property,
right?
She's actually on Disney's property.
That's true. Yeah, but look at that. You planned that one out, didn't you? Yeah, she's living her best life, being a musketeer or something. I don't know. Maybe she decided I want to be a Disney princess going forward. Who knows? But Nicole, we wish you the best, and we can't wait to have you back. Who knows? I don't even know.
She'll come back next week.
I don't even. Are we recording next week? I don't even know.
Well, we'll find out. But
Yeah.
she's coming back.
She'll be back eventually.
She'll be back.
Before we kick off the episode, I do want to talk about some news.
News.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't done the news
news
song. I don't even think that was a. I don't. That wasn't just like.
News. Yeah, and Nicole knows how to do it.
It's like news. Oh well, whatever. The point is, I have some news. We haven't kicked off an episode with news in so long, but I don't have anything in front of me. I'm just gonna go based off of the hearsay I have read online. But here we go. Straight from Comic-Con this past weekend. Yeah. It's announced that there's gonna be another Fantastic Four reboot. This time for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I can't wait for us to cover that because Nicole's going to hate it.
Oh, yeah.
And I really do hope we track down that unreleased 1980s Fantastic Four movie just to watch it because I feel like you have to. It's like a thing of legends, And the other major announcement is that Daredevil has been picked up by Disney Plus. So that now qualifies as a revival. So, also kind of looking forward to covering that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's just say Nicole's going to be miserable.
She's going to be miserable.
She's going to be absolutely miserable.
She's going to hate it.
No, I don't know. Daredevil's good.
No, I know. Daredevil's great.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the series.
I feel like this series might woo her over. But yeah, so those are the two major announcements. I think I also saw maybe from Comic-Con or maybe it came out this weekend, but there was a trailer for Interview with a Vampire. I think it's an AMC original. They had recently done Black Narcissus, which was kind of middling at best. So let's see how this one turns out. But obviously, we'll be covering that one when it drops later this year. I don't know, anything percolating, anything grabbing your attention, Eddie?
No. The new Black Panther movie that's coming out. Is that almost a revival?
So you know how Mackenzie Green wants to cover that on the podcast? I think we'll do it just for Mackenzie Green. But I kind of think it qualifies because they have to shake things up to figure out what they're doing now that Chadwick Boseman passed away. So yeah, so I think that qualifies. I think I mean, granted, it's part of the Avengers franchise, but it's definitely a film series that is going through the ringer because I don't think they're figuring out. And now I was reading on like Salon that like, or somewhere that like, fans, quote unquote fans, want Disney to recast the character, right? To recast T'Challa. And I think the headline was like, are these real fans or are these just guys who don't want to see a female-centric story? Because I think the new Wakanda Forever is going to be a lot more female-led, right? We have Angela Lansbury, Angela Bassett.
Angela Lansbury. Nicole will be on the floor.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one and stuff. And there's gonna be a short episode, guys, because we're probably just gonna focus on Obi-Wan Kenobi. But real quick, Eddie, have you seen anything good recently?
Oh my God. Let me think.
The answer is yes. We saw it together in the theaters with Nicole before she left to Disney.
We saw that movie.
Yeah, what was the name of the movie? It was Nope.
Yes.
Nope. The Jordan Peele film. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was very good. Highly recommend.
Yeah. I think I rank it as my favorite Jordan Peele film so far. It's hard to say. Jordan Peele film so far. I thought it was. I think it's his best work so far. I don't know. Where does it rank for you, Eddie?
Like I said,
well, you said this to me, but not on the podcast.
Yes, not on the podcast. Get Out is my favorite because of the surprise factor, right? That presented something unique, and I was like not expecting it. And then Nope, I was expecting a surprise factor. Mm-hmm. So I now Get Out, and then it's Nope.
Yeah.
Second. But very much enjoyed that movie very much.
Yeah. Well, speaking of surprise factors, I don't think this was a surprise because there were so many whisperings for this series for years leading up to its release. But Obi-Wan Kenobi premiered on Disney Plus a few weeks ago, and I think it's. Sorry, guys. Like, Nicole usually has all the facts and figures here. I do not have them with me because that's how your boy rolls here. But to my understanding, at least if I were to believe what I see on my YouTube feed and on Twitter, the fan reception for this show has kind of been mixed at best, which I kind of find surprising. So before we get right into it, let's talk a little bit about Star Wars history. Obviously, the original film came out in the 1970s, I think, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
1977.
1977. That's when the original Star Wars trilogy began with Star Wars, that would later get renamed Star Wars A New Hope. And obviously, I feel like anyone who has even the most minuscule understanding of pop cultures knows how important this series is to pop culture in general. It was followed up by Return of the Jedi,
Empire Strikes Back.
See this. I'm sorry, guys. I am, like I said, a fair weather Star Wars fan. Empire Strikes Back. That's the one that takes place on the ice planet, right? And he cuts open a
Tom or
a Tom. Yeah, I think you're right. A Tom. Yeah,
something like that.
So, okay, yeah, that one.
It starts out in Hoth. Yeah, the planet Hoth.
I've only seen that film once. I think I've only seen the next one also, the third Empire Strikes. No, Return of the Jedi. I think I've only seen that one once also. And they're fine. But the original one is great. I think the original one is good. The other ones are just like, whatever. No offense, guys. Sorry. Eddie, your thoughts on the original trilogy?
Oh, I love them all. I mean, I grew up with them. I remember watching as a little boy Return of the Jedi. I saw Return of the Jedi first. And not knowing nothing about like what I was watching, but totally fell in love with the story, and then just saw all the movies several times, and then later on I started reading the books that came out.
Yeah, sorry guys, if you hear our dog, it's because for some reason he's decided I'm gonna play with all my toys today, he never does this when I'm working from home, but of course, the moment we have the microphones on, he's just like, the world needs to hear me. So sorry, Eddie. The dog interrupted you this time, not me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just became a fan of like the book series that came out later. Kevin Anderson and other authors that wrote kind of like the continuation, or fill in the lost years, so to speak, the in between years between the stories, the movies.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were a Star Wars like deep cut fan, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like I had like encyclopedias devoted to like technology used in Star Wars, spaceship designs and stuff like that. I'm definitely big fan of like any Jedi lore. So I used to read the comics, like the Old Republic comics, Jedis of the Old Republic, and then other comics that came out that kind of like started filling up kind of like the timeline.
Right.
So even stuff that happened in the comic books would sometimes be mentioned in books that came out later. They try to keep this kind of like continuity across the board.
Interesting. And when did you first hear about the prequels coming out? Do you remember?
I mean, I remember being excited about it. I remember reading the story that what was that Brad Pitt movie where he played the Grim Reaper? Is it
Meet Joe Black?
Meet Joe Black. So it seemed that movie was showing the preview to the prequel.
Okay.
So people just bought tickets to see the preview of the movie and then would walk out.
Yeah,
not going to the movie.
I can't judge people for that because before the internet, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like they would tell you, it would leak what movie would have what trailer. So I remember for The Dark Knight, I think it was attached to the Mission Impossible trailer. And I think I've said this on the podcast, or I just revealed this to somebody. Oh, I think I revealed this to some friends over the weekend. Hey guys, if you're listening. But I've only seen the original Mission Impossible. I've never seen the entire franchise. I really considered buying tickets to see the Dark Knight trailer that was attached to one of the Mission Impossible movies when it came out. I didn't, but that's how it was back in the day, right? Like I guess over 10 years ago. Before they do same day drops on YouTube and stuff. But yeah, that's so funny. That's wild. Meet Joe Black is an interesting movie to attach to Star Wars.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So that was in 1999 when The Phantom Menace comes out. So even though these are Star Wars films and the original trilogy are overall important to the franchise, this episode is really going to focus more so on the prequel because I think this is arguably a revival of the prequel trilogy, right? The Obi-Wan Kenobi show?
Yeah. I definitely we continue with the story of where we have like see the story of the man who will become Darth Vader. The Jedi who will fall to the dark side and become Darth Vader.
You can say Anakin. I think it's okay.
Okay. Anakin Skywalker.
Yes.
Yeah. So it just continues. I mean, this is just like when we pick up with Ben Kenobi in this series. It's just been how long? Like 5 years. It's been 10 years or 5
10 years. It's been 10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years since
since
that's right. The kids are 10 years old.
Yeah, since the ending of Revenge of the Sith.
And then and we get insight too now of Luke and Leia as children.
Right. So setting up ultimately the New Hope series. Right. This kind of falls right in the middle. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of the prequels. Right. So because I actually think the prequels hold more significance in the film community than it does necessarily in pop culture overall, because I think the reception for the prequel trilogy was mixed at best, right? Like I think they got better as the films went along, but let's be very honest, George Lucas is a little hammy with his dialogue writing. And no offense to Hayden Christensen, but like he was kind of just a pretty face on camera, in my opinion. Obviously, so Hayden Christensen in the prequels plays Anakin Skywalker. He will go off to become Darth Vader. We also have Natalie Portman as Amidala, Queen Amidala, Padme Amidala. I don't know how that works. And so she was a queen, but she's also a senator or something like that. And Ewan McGregor plays Obi-Wan Kenobi, who in this franchise is the one who gives Luke his journey, right? I guess as you describe him. He's the wise man. I don't know. How would you describe him in the character arc? He's a wise guy. Not wise guy, but the wise man. The one who sets Luke on his journey. But yeah, the reason I think the prequels are so important, The Phantom Menace, is because The Phantom Menace which came out in 1999, was filmed on film, right? And George Lucas didn't like the way CGI looked with film, so he ended up pushing the industry towards digital. And the reason that's important, at least as a filmmaker, is because that helped democratize film as an industry in general, right? As we moved over into digital, suddenly film became much more accessible for everyone to make, myself included, right? I have digital cameras now as a result. So this is all thank you to George Lucas, who pushed an industry to a new medium and stuff. And I think if Nicole were here, she would give us a lot of pushback because digital doesn't look as good as film, and I actually agree with that. I think film looks significantly better. But Eddie, you haven't studied film. Do you notice a difference?
Yes,
like, you can notice a difference.
I can notice the difference. Yeah, yeah.
Do you like one over the other?
For some things.
Yeah, I think
for some things.
I think texture matters.
For grandiosa, for scenes where you have to kind of take up the background. There's something nice about digital being sharp and being able to just have more clarity.
Yeah.
Things of just being just kind of like faded in the background.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. There's like a texture. There's like a graininess to film. Yeah.
Exactly, which can be in itself beautiful.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. I agree. Did you see the prequels in theaters?
Yes.
So you were part of the... I think the Phantom Menace took worldwide box office receipts of $1 billion, over $1 billion. It was $1,027,044,000. No, wait, is that right? Yeah, $1 billion, over $1 billion. My goodness, over $1 billion. And then Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith didn't perform as well worldwide. Attack of the Clones took in almost half of what the Phantom Menace brought in, which is that billion, right? So Attack of the Clones brought in worldwide $649 million, and Revenge of the Sith performed better, bringing in $850 million, right? So again, interesting, right? Like why did the second one do not as well? I think it's because Phantom Menace really did leave like a sour taste in people's mouth, didn't it? I mean,
yeah.
Think back to what it was when you watched it.
Yeah, I struggled with all the things that they threw, the lore that they threw at us, midichlorians, the whole. I think what, the whole like strict rules of what it is to be a Jedi, you know, things you have to give up. How Jedis are taken as small as as basically babies almost. From their families to be trained and all this kind of stuff. And Jar Jar Binks, which is supposed to be the comedy relief, the thing that attracts children, became something. The character became very annoying. I personally hated Anakin being called Annie.
Oh.
I hated that so much. I just didn't like that. And the whole thing of that he was kind of like conceived without a father.
Yes, it was a virgin birth. That's right.
So that was another thing too. Like the Force had gathered itself to conceive. So all these kind of things I felt was just like heavy and like ugh.
Right. Yeah. So you were one of those fans that.
Yeah, I had at that point consumed so much of Star Wars, and so much lore that it was like, wait a minute, this I don't remember this, or this is not matching up, or yeah, I was struggling with this continuity, feeling like it wasn't fitting the idea of the continuity I had in my head.
Yeah. Did you go see Attack of the Clones in theaters though?
Yeah, I saw all of them in theaters. Yeah.
You saw all of them in theaters. Yeah, so did I. My father was he was an avid Star Wars fan. He brought me along every time. Actually, one of my bridesmaids, Amanda, he would drag her along too because we hung out a lot. So he would pay for her ticket and bring her. And I will never forget how she told me how I hate sci-fi so much. I will do it because I love your father. She hated sci-fi. I'm pretty sure she fell asleep during Revenge of the Sith.
Oh my god.
Which is arguably the best one, but I don't think she cared for the lore. Yeah, which out of the prequels is your favorite? Do you have a favorite? Maybe you don't have a favorite.
No, I don't have a favorite when it comes to the prequels.
Yeah, I think mine is Revenge of the Sith. I think this Revenge of the Sith is arguably the best of the prequel trilogy. But I don't know. I mean, as a kid, I was a kid when the Phantom Menace came out, right? And I was a fan of like the race scene. Like, I don't care what it meant to the series, but like, I don't know, it was cool, in my opinion.
Okay.
But yeah, so mixed legacy, I would say. I think after the release of the Disney sequels, people have looked back at the prequels and kind of changed their views on it because, again, the sequels have left like a really bitter taste in like Star Wars fandom, and I don't understand because me, a fair weather fan, I saw those sequels and I was just like, they're fine. I will watch them once or twice and never think about them again. But as I admitted, I did that with the original Star Wars. So who am I to judge? Eddie, any thoughts on what I just said? No clapbacks?
No clapbacks. I mean, it's your opinion, but I being one of those fans that just got just turned off by Star Wars after that.
After the sequels?
After the prequels.
After the prequels. You were turned off by the prequels, okay.
Yeah, after the prequels, I was just like, I didn't want to kind of like, there was like no need for me to delve in any further with the franchise.
Yeah.
Well, I took a break from the franchise, basically.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Right. And I guess a little bit of story plot. I mean, the overall story of the prequels is how Anakin went from being the chosen one to Darth Vader, right? That's overall how you can summarize the prequel trilogy. And it's a story of love because he fell in love with a woman, Padme, and it was like a forbidden love for some reason because Jedi are supposed to be celibate for some reason.
Yeah, Jedi are not.
I don't understand. What are they, like priests?
Oh.
Like why make Jedi celibate? Like what does that do? I'm sorry. I'm just like I'm asking you.
I really think it is to kind of live the life. Excuse me. almost monastic life where it's like you just devote your life to the study of the Force, to being connected to the Force, to the service of the Force, and you don't want anything to interfere with interfere or bring about the emotions or passions that being in a relationship would bring, or having these kind of you want to let go of all relationships, be no ties, so you could be free in the Force, so to speak.
It just reminds me of that like kind of myth that they have for like sports players. You know how like sports players won't have sex before a big game? It's a myth. It doesn't do anything. Like it's just like we're putting all these restrictions on our sexuality for who? For the Force? No, thank you. If I were a Jedi that were given that option, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. I'm good.
I don't. Yeah, so this was also something like new for me because a lot of stuff that I've read from the comic books and from like even the later stories of like, Luke finding love and having kids, and Jedis, they got married. You got married, you had kids, and you trained them in the Force too. They were the Force sensitive. You would train them, and sometimes your dad or your mom would be the one that would be training you in the beginning stage before another master took over for whatever reason.
And I have a question, right? And you may not have the answer, but maybe with all your deep knowledge, right, you do. Are the Sith allowed to procreate? Do Siths bang?
So they no, I mean in some of the books there have been relationships with Sith members, people who have followed the Sith.
I mean, the problem with the Sith, I think, is just at the end they look awful, right?
Yeah. So it's like when it seems, right, when from what the evidence that we have, especially from the Emperor, is when you use so much of like the dark force, the dark side of the force, it changes you physically. It corrupts you. It almost deteriorates you quickly.
Right. Yeah. And that includes... No, I guess that's not including Darth Vader, because he was burnt alive at the end of Revenge of the Sith. But, yeah. But no, that's it. So, all right, so maybe the Sith have it right? If they're allowed to have relations and stuff, that's it. That's what would have cemented it for me if I was force sensitive. I'd be like, oh, no, I'm going with the Sith. Because...
Yeah, but it's more... not to get all like geeky about this, but it's
feel free. Nicole's not here.
There's more to it, you know. I mean, to be attracted to it, I mean, you have to call forth your anger.
That's,
you know, it's a lot of
speaking
anger
my language.
and hatred and you know, and to see the path of being like conqueror and destruction. And so
I forgot. So in school, when I was in high school, I don't know if it was after a shooting or I don't think it was after 9/11, but I remember one teacher, it was after some big horrific event that happened in the country, and the teacher, when the beginning class, he's like, why do people hate? Like, why do we hate is how we started off the class, and everyone was kind of quiet and like sullen because of what had just happened. And I was the only one who just raised my hand and said the answer, which is hate is so much easier than love.
Yeah.
And that is why we choose to hate.
Oh.
Which again, just points is just like, I feel like I would fall for the Sith. I would have been seduced.
Yeah,
by the dark side
the they always say the path to the dark side is the easiest path.
it's the least resistance,
The
right?
least resistance.
Oh yeah,
it's the one that
so
it
much better
entices, it draws you.
Yeah,
Stuff.
to just get in your rage.
Yeah.
And yeah, the best feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, so overall, but now in retrospect, are you a fan of the prequels, or do you still like hold them as just like
No, so I'll probably never watch the prequels. I'll never like revisit that. But I do see like maybe because now we have shows that's coming on Disney Plus, The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett. Now we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. These things refer to events that happened in the past. So of course, like looking back at those moments, kind of like, you know, like with the side, like almost like I'm not looking directly at it because I may not. It still irks me, but there's some things about this the story itself that I can appreciate.
right?
Too. You know, because it was, yeah.
No, yeah, I understand that. Were you excited when it was announced that it was going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi show?
Yes, because of Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, no, same. As someone who, again, fair weather fan, but I think they announced Obi-Wan Kenobi officially after the success of the first season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And that show, Mandalorian, the first season, was absolutely phenomenal, right?
Yeah, so good.
And kind of breathed new life into the Star Wars series after the sequels.
Exactly.
And I was super excited. So let's get into a little bit of this history here. Mandalorian came out. Oh, I don't even know when The Mandalorian came out. But Obi-Wan Kenobi was announced after the success of The Mandalorian. It was confirmed in August of 2019. And production was scheduled to begin in July of 2020. But guess what happened? Pandemic. So things were put on hold. I think they completed casting sometime in March of 2021 and began filming, and it wrapped 2021 of March, and now here we are almost a year later, and the show premiered in May 27th of 2022 on Disney Plus. It's a Disney Plus exclusive, and it's a 6-episode miniseries. I think they're calling it a miniseries because this is it. We're only getting the one season of Obi-Wan Kenobi. My guess is you can only afford Ewan McGregor for so much, right? But part of me thinks that Ewan McGregor wanted to come back to kind of finish the story. I don't know. Like, this is just conjecture here, but I think he wanted to come back and kind of like say it's just like let the weight of Star Wars fall on my shoulders. They are on good hands here. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean,
so cocky. The version that I'm painting Ewan McGregor.
I know. I was excited. I excited to get more of the Obi-Wan Kenobi character. We do see it. You do see more of it in the animated series, the Clone Wars, and but this whole thing of kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi that's like defeated.
Yeah, he's in hiding.
Lost everything, and now I mean, and even the weight of guilt of losing Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can't forget that famous line. You know, you were like my brother,
right?
You know, and that moment where he basically leaves Anakin burning and walks away,
which we will talk about because I think I have opinions on that by the end of this series. But yeah, it's so interesting, right? Because you're right, they were like brothers in the series. I made jokes it's just like they were in love with each other, but they weren't. This was a very platonic friendship and stuff. You can't make those gay innuendo jokes with them because I think they played it pretty heterosexual, and that's not a critique. That's just literally saying it. They played it very, very platonic, and it was kind of a nice friendship that they had. So I think that's why I kind of do like the Revenge of the Sith, because like the tragedy there that is of their friendship, what happens at the end of it is sad. And well, not to spill tea, but you know, I'm seeing that happen in real life to some friends and stuff, and it's heartbreaking when friends go separate paths and stuff, and it seems like things can't be mended. So yeah, I like that aspect. So yeah, so you're right. So this show follows Obi-Wan Kenobi 10 years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. He's in hiding in Tatooine. We were nervous initially when the show was coming out because this came out after the Book of Boba Fett, which after 2 episodes taking place on Tatooine, I was just like, oh,
get
God,
the hell out of Tatooine already.
Yeah,
it's like it's such a backwatered like planet, and it's like literally where everything seems to be happening too. And I just feel like, why live in a small village? Because those villagers, they just get slaughtered. It's like slaughtered. It's just go to one of the major cities on Coruscant and just like hide there. But it's yeah, I'm tired of that desert planet already.
Me too. Oh, me too.
Even like the new video, that game, that VR game that comes out, it's like the Tatooine. I'm like, no,
yeah,
no, I'm so done with Tatooine. I'm so done with that planet.
Yeah, it's at Tales of the Galaxy's Edge, I think.
Yeah,
it's a new VR game,
it's like,
yeah. Like Disney,
it's like so much out there, so many planets.
Well, Disney has invested heavily in Disney World's Galaxy's Edge, so they're just like, you're gonna show this all the time because this is what we have in the theme park.
Yeah,
Mickey Mouse.
It is so true.
Throws tantrums if we don't do. But no, yeah. So it starts off at in Tatooine, but I was surprised that like the show kind of takes us kind of all over the galaxy for a little bit, right? Because the show, I think the trailer led us to believe that this was going to be a Tatooine focused show, because I think a lot of the trailer originally focused on the first episode. But it turns out the series actually focuses on this wonderful relationship between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Princess Leia, which I thought was kind of sweet. I thought it was...
Oh, yeah. So I really thought that it was going to be Obi-Wan Kenobi creeping, stalking Luke Skywalker,
Right.
young Skywalker, like keeping an eye on him, waiting, like asking, has he showed any signs yet?
It was gonna be
of the
you,
Force?
but on Tatooine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think the smartest thing they did was kind of give us an adventure story that I was not expecting, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi and Princess Leia. Now, this young actress who played Princess Leia, I thought she was great. She was lovely, played by Vivian Lyra Blair. Yeah, she was. I thought she was. She. I don't know. She was so sassy.
No, I wouldn't even use the word sassy. I would use just courageous and
But she
moments
the way
of
she spoke to
defiance.
people was she was very
moments of
defiant.
defiant. They embodied of the characteristics that we see in the Princess Leia of the New Hope.
Right. So the story is that Princess Leia gets kidnapped by Inquisitors, who are like Force sensitive, not Sith, but they work for the Empire. Sorry, guys, for my bad explanation. But again, I'm not the deepest in Star Wars lore here. And she gets kidnapped. So Leia's adopted father, played by
Jimmy Smith.
Thank you. He asks Obi-Wan to intervene. So Obi-Wan goes on this adventure trying to rescue her, and that takes them all around the galaxy. And they're being really chased by this new character, Reva. She is a Inquisitor trying to become the Grand Inquisitor, in charge of all the bad guys. And spoiler alert, guys. This is a show that came out a month ago, so a lot of you guys probably have watched, but just spoiler alerts ahead. Reva turns out to have one of the biggest twists of the show. Eddie, do you want to elaborate, or do you want me to?
Well, I mean, there is first the obsession of tracking down Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yes.
At all costs, really, like obsessions, because the Inquisitors are hunting down Force-sensitive people as well as remnants of the Jedi Order.
Mm-hmm.
So you have people that did survive the initial wave of Order 66, and there are Jedis living in hiding, but like they say, one of the Jedi's greatest gifts can also be their greatest weakness, is their compassion. So when they see people in trouble,
they intervene.
They intervene, and they protectors of the innocent, and that ends up being what gets them caught,
right,
by the Inquisitors and by the Republic, and they get killed. So this is what's been going on, is that these last 10 years, the Empire has been hunting down not only Jedi, but any Force-sensitive individual, children, adults, just being wiped out. And you have these Jedis in hiding. So you have this crazy scene, which is so sad, where Obi-Wan Kenobi runs into one of these Jedis that recognizes him. And he's basically saying, he's on the run. He's like, ask for help. And Obi-Wan Kenobi says, just get the hell out of here. Just get out. I can't help you. Because obviously his responsibility is to make sure that Luke is okay. He doesn't want to do anything to bring any attention to Luke.
Yeah, I know. It's so annoying.
It's like totally that. And later on, spoilers, that Jedi is found dead.
Right.
So, so you have that going on, and Reva has this thing that we need to find Obi-Wan Kenobi, General Kenobi, but there's even more to this, because we learned that Reva was one of the younglings that had survived the initial attack in the temple.
Mm-hmm. So
when Anakin Skywalker came in as now the newly Darth Vader, and he was killing younglings in the temple, she was one that was able to had survived the attack. And one of the things that she said is that I played dead, and I put the bodies of my friends on top of me, and I felt them go cold.
Which is eerily reminiscent, not to get political, but I think that's just something that like parents are teaching their kids now in school. It's just like, in the event of a mass shooting, play dead.
Well, I mean, I know in the latest shootings, that was one of the girls, one of the students had said that.
I think you're right. I think it was in Uvalde.
Yeah.
horrifying, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely despicable that that's what's happening in real life. But yeah, so Reva turns out to be a youngling. I think the biggest twist, though, is that Reva's desires to be Darth Vader's right-hand man, because, right, she's hunting Obi-Wan Kenobi on Darth Vader's behalf. It's revealed that the reason she's doing all this is because she is out for blood. She wants to kill Darth Vader. She wants to kill Anakin Skywalker for what he did to the younglings and stuff. And this was kind of the turning point for me for the series, because I was just like, oh, she became so fascinating to me by that point.
Yeah.
She was already like an interesting character by all respects, but giving her the lust of revenge kind of made her motive seem clearer and this was revealed by the second to last episode. So yeah, Reva was a new character. She played, she was I think I said third sister, but I think she was what sister was she? Hang on, let me see.
Is it the third one?
Was it second? Maybe she was second sister. Yeah, a third sister. You're right. She was third sister. Mm-hmm. She was a fascinating character. There was, in that penultimate episode, there was like backstabbing upon backstabbing upon backstabbing that it kind of became a little hard to track. I think the writers got lost in the weeds in the final episode because her motives then for the final episode were a little bit clunky. I think because she goes off to Tatooine to kill Luke Skywalker for some reason. I think it was just hurt Anakin Skywalker, but he didn't know Luke Skywalker was a baby, so you know what I mean?
Yeah. He as we know here that so we have Leia and Luke separated, are in hiding. These are Anakin Skywalker's kids. He doesn't know that they exist because his thought was that when Padaway died, she died
giving birth.
She didn't give birth. That she didn't bring the kids to term. She had died with the kids in the womb. So that's why they have her a full belly in her casket.
Oh, I see.
Like,
I never realized that.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay.
And the way her hands are positioned kind of over her belly. Yeah.
But she did give birth. So how did they do that? Did they put like something? I'm just.
Yeah, I guess that's not my expertise, but I'm assuming that they.
Yeah. So anyway, so Reva was hunting down Luke Skywalker to kill him, but that plan made no sense. I understand on some level. I understand she's just trying to hurt Anakin Skywalker, but again, he didn't know that this was his child. So what was she gonna do? Deliver the message, being like, "I killed your baby."
I felt like this was. I felt like she. It's true. I don't know what happened. I feel like I blinked and this motivation, just went over my head. I didn't know like specifically why. I mean, some of the people's commentaries have been because she knew that Ben Kenobi had some connection with this child, that there was a person of interest in Ben Kenobi's life, so that's why she wanted to kill Luke to hurt Ben.
But Ben had nothing to do with her downfall. You know what I mean? Like he was. I mean, I don't know that.
It gets all convoluted
because it's like a game of chess. It's trying to be very Game of Thronesy,
and then it's like it's like her like recognizing I can't do this. I can't be this person that kills a kid.
Well, that's kind of what pissed me off because I'm just like, you're already here. Like, what do you have to lose, Reva, at this point?
That is a soft spot. And then that becomes her, her redemption.
Her redemption
journey
story
from there.
I mean, I would love to see more of Reva. I can forgive that last episode, but because I thought she was a fascinating character, especially when it was revealed that she is trying to just kill Darth Vader. I don't know, like. I love a good revenge story, right? Like, revenge is one of my favorite series, despite how bad it got towards the end. So, like, you give me a good revenge tale, and I'm all for it. Kill Bill, right? Is another good one. That's what they should do. They should make a Reva, like, a Kill Bill type thing. She's on her way trying to kill Darth Vader, killing people one by one. No? You want to watch this? I would. Anyway. But, yeah. This is the last thing I wanted to say about... this brought up an interesting point, which is this is my problem with prequels in general. I feel like there's certain points where I know who's gonna survive. So it's just like I'm watching it, but I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like there's no stakes.
Yeah.
In it, right. Like I know Luke isn't gonna get hurt. There's a big epic fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is what the audiences wanted, myself included. And I wasn't worried for either of them because I knew deep down it's just like they're both gonna survive because we know they need to get to A New Hope, right? Yeah. So that would be my only major qualm about the show, but that's not really the show's fault.
So,
that's just lazy, right? Not lazy. That's lazy. Just lazy franchising.
No, not per se. Well, I believe it this way. So it's like, what stakes are there if we kind of know the end story? Because we meet the character at a later point in their lives, and now we get to see their past, right? So it's now here about the journey, and this is the tricky thing about using these legacy characters, and I don't mean legacy the way Disney is using legacy, but
mean like major characters,
characters that we have like their story, especially their end story. So you have these characters now we have to like see their past, and they're gonna have all these moments, and it's like, we're more seeing how those moments are gonna shape the characters to who they are, who they're gonna become later on. Instead of being like, I wonder if Obi-Wan Kenobi is gonna make it this time,
right?
But it's about like what ends up. What transpired that Obi-Wan Kenobi ends up being this old kind of like
crotchety.
No, I wouldn't say crotch, but also hopeless when it came to Anakin, when it came to to that point. I mean, and we see the scene in Obi-Wan Kenobi where they're fighting, and he's like, he's not gonna kill him. He's defeated him, but he's not gonna kill him. And he's like, Anakin, his half his mask is broken, and he's like, Anakin, I'm sorry for everything.
Right.
And Darth Vader's like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I killed Anakin Skywalker.
And
I know, but
an issue with this one. So let me just hang on. Because the podcast isn't heard it. But my only issue with that is that it does absolve Obi-Wan Kenobi of some responsibility that he did have for his actions in Revenge of the Sith. He left his friend there to burn.
Well, he left. I mean, but
and to die. You know what I mean?
We have to realize that he warned him. When they were fighting. He says, "I have the high ground. Okay, don't do this. And Anakin, in his anger, does it, and then we find himself in this situation here. And these are the choices that he's made. These are the consequences for the choices they made. And there are two things that are happening here. One, I don't think he's absolving Obi-Wan of his saying like, hey, no, I forgive you. Don't worry about it. It's not your fault. I think he's saying, no. You don't get to take credit for the man that I become.
I see.
I did this.
That does become darker.
I did this.
Yeah, fine. That's fair.
So that is actually the Darth Vader that I know and love. The one it's like, you have no power over me.
Yeah, I do love a good dramatic Darth Vader. Like, Darth Vader is all about the drama. I remember when Rogue One came out, like, some of my friends were, like, angry with that portrayal of Darth Vader because he made puns and he was, I don't know, dramatic, to say the thing. But, like, Darth Vader has always been dramatic, right? Like,
he wears a fucking flowing black cape.
How
do you not be dramatic? How do you not walk in the room swinging that cape?
But not just that. There's also the moment in
he literally in a team meeting almost killed a man.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking more so where he sets up a whole dinner for Han Solo and Leia. You know what I mean? Like that. That was one of the biggest dramatic moments. The other big dramatic moment, it actually also came from Rogue One, is where he turns off his life support so he could be in total darkness to then scare
He's
the,
like almost
the,
like
the
holding,
rebels.
He's like holding his breath for
Right,
effect.
just for the effect. It's just like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he lives on the planet where he was created. Where he
Yeah,
burned,
he
you know what I
burned.
mean?
Yeah, but he had the traumatic experience.
Darth Vader has always been about the
He made
theatrics
like a
and the
little
drama.
palace.
So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about Darth Vader, who I do like. I forgot to mention, but yeah, Hayden Christensen returns to play Darth Vader. I think he was actually in costume. Don't quote me on that, guys, but I think he was in costume. Like when you're seeing Darth Vader on set, it's Hayden Christensen. And according to I think it was Ewan McGregor, he said that like the entire crew was so excited that people who weren't scheduled to be there came that day to see Hayden Christensen on set as Darth Vader. And I actually thought he was good, fine, for the few parts we saw him. I think he redeemed himself for some of the bad acting that was in the prequel trilogy. True or false? No?
I enjoyed
Yeah,
the
he was good.
scenes.
I actually also enjoyed the scene that they had in one of the episodes where it was a flashback scene, and
They're fighting in the
they're fighting,
balcony.
they're training, and they're CGI to look younger. But I thought the CGI was well done. Like I didn't take issue. Sometimes I do take issue.
Mm-hmm.
They're still at an age where like all you're really doing is just kind of like just retexturing. Yeah, like they're minor touch-ups.
I mean,
so.
I
Well,
feel
Ewan
like
McGregor probably had a little bit more.
Yeah,
but
I feel like he's I don't know. I feel like he's aged well.
Oh no, yeah, he's
aged very well.
Very, very well. I think
Aged
he's
well.
very, very handsome.
I just don't like the pretty hair that they put on him in
The
those.
Jesus hair?
Yeah, like the very flashback, like really super conditioned, super styled, flowing hair.
But his hair was always like that though in the series.
I
wasn't
know, which I hated. But I mean, in the Obi-Wan it's like all messy, but
Right.
which I prefer.
it? He's like a rugged man.
No, but I seriously enjoyed this. I seriously enjoyed the relationship that he develops with young Leia.
Yeah, same.
It's so funny when he's one of the ones that okay, our backstory is that
We're farmers.
we're farmers,
From
and I'm
Tron.
your father. And she goes under her breath, more like my grandfather.
Right, yeah. That's what I meant about her sassiness. She was
It's like, and it's like, she's like one of those. She calls him out like, ever since I met you, I've just been shot at. I've fallen from a building. People are hunting me down. So-
I love a good father or surrogate father daughter story, like The Last of Us,
like a Logan.
Logan. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, great
so,
example,
yeah.
right? Like so this kind of just
That
fed more
chemistry,
into that,
it works.
yeah, it's
You know,
a
it just-
great
it,
formula.
It worked, and the great thing is it gives us the opportunity, because here he's overseeing, keeping an eye, like if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, like he's there, he's looking out for Luke, and then the opportunity of one day he's gonna train Luke to defeat his dad
for like a day.
Is he? But like the idea was because he was there. He was planning to stay there and stay put
To train Luke
Luke
Okay.
for one day. Not for one day, but one day he will train Luke.
Yeah, it just
one day he
came
will
up
train
that
Luke.
he will be training for a day.
So that's the idea. Train him to defeat Darth Vader.
Mhm.
What was the goal here? Like, I'm gonna train you so you can bring down your dad.
Basically.
Yeah, and then we have Leia here.
It was arguably stronger
Yeah,
at her age than
and
Luke
like very
was.
much.
She's more attuned with the Force. Or
I don't know
At least
if
she's
that,
not attuned, but like she has the inkling.
She definitely is a leader.
Right.
She definitely is a leader. She definitely is. She has the things that would make a rebellion leader.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was rebellious as like her, as part of her royalty duties. The way she didn't want to be. She's always playing these jokes, running away. In the palace forest and stuff like that. That one thing is that when they're at this dinner party that she has to go to this cocktail hour, and her cousin makes this like remark how droids are like lower class life forms.
They're robots. I don't understand
Yeah.
why everything
So-
about droids annoys me because it's just like, why do we treat them like people?
Okay, which he said, and then she comes slaps back on him.
Which is funny because that carries over into how I play Dungeons and Dragons when there's Warforged involved, because I know it's just like, you're not real.
Yeah.
You're just sentient machine.
Yeah. So
I would be the first one to be dead if there was a robot uprising.
Definitely.
Like, I would
Definitely.
be
And I
tried
think
for hate crimes.
And I don't think by robots. I think by fellow humans. I really do.
I have a question for you, right? I was thinking about this as the series was progressing, and this is how I want to just wrap up the show. But do you think it potentially... I don't know how old Ewan McGregor is. Let's say he's in his early 50s, right? He has to be. I know he looks great, but like he has to be in his early 50s. Do you think that there's a potential that, like, let's say maybe... Let's add another 15, 20 years from now. They'll remake the original Star Wars series, maybe not as a movies, but as like a TV show. Like, expand upon the original one. Do you and Ewan McGregor will return as Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah.
You think there's a possibility?
Yeah.
I thought so too. I was just like, I know Disney.
Oh my god,
Disney will do this.
This is.
I mean, this is the future of media. So
yeah. I mean, you think about like, just really like think about it this way. It's like, okay, so we live in a world now where we have the once again, this franchise has revised itself. Like it's come back in these programs, these TV programs, right? So we have that, and then movies that we had for a little while. We have that. We live in a world where Sarah Michelle Gellar is gonna come back as is gonna come as, well. She's working in the new Teen Wolf.
You got me so pumped up.
I know.
Like,
I know.
whoa,
Buffy.
Whoa.
No.
Whoa, why?
Buffy.
This should have been the breaking news for the episode.
In the sense of like, where if we can't get the individual getting the individual back in the kind of the feel of the role or feel of that world is exciting.
Yeah.
Too. So
then, but did you have that thought while you were watching the show like I did, or did you think about that?
I'm not thinking about it all the way out of the head. I'm not there. Like thinking so much.
I was thinking,
and
I want to say,
this
is not a desire. I'm just saying it's just like Disney.
No,
I'm sure Disney's seeing how this show's performing and being like, okay, let's green light in 15 years, in 20 years, the remake of the Star Wars as a TV show. And I don't know. That might be better. I feel like hopefully by then, like the angry original fans are dead, so I don't have to hear them complain about it. So no, because let's be real. I mean, we were literally doing research for this episode, and on YouTube, the first video that shows up when you Google Obi-Wan Kenobi was this angry white man complaining about like how Disney is too woke and ruining Star Wars because Obi-Wan Kenobi might be bisexual, which I don't believe for 1 second. Obi-Wan Kenobi is very, very much asexual. There's like literal no sexual magnetism this man has. Physically, yes, but like I meant like the character himself is just like ill. He's so fucking whack. You know what I mean? Like I feel like no woman in the Star Wars universe looks at him and has an iota of moisture in her nether regions.
Oh my god! All right, let's go. Move on.
So anyway, Eddie, do you think this revival was needed? Yes.
Yes. And once again, I hate that question. I don't think anything is needed.
Oh my god! It's our question.
I know, but I think we need to come up with a better question. Do we want this? You know?
Did you want
this? Yeah, I wanted it. I kind of wanted to explore this particular character, this particular time. I think there's so much more they can do. I feel like it ends up being so limited. But think about this. It's like literally there's an organization that we get to that we saw that's helping Force sensitive and Jedi get out of like whatever situation they're in, get them new identities and protect them.
Which I wonder if it'll tie into that video game that I was playing. Dark New Order. It's a Star Wars game, guys. Star Wars Fallen Order.
The Fallen Order.
Yeah. And a sequel is coming out rather soon, I think.
Isn't it called Survivors?
Oh, I don't know what it's called.
I think it's called Survivors.
It's a game series that
So
I
it's called
enjoyed.
Fallen Order Survivors.
Oh, Fallen Order Survivors.
I think
Okay,
that's
got
what
it.
it's called.
All right, there you go. But so I wonder if there's going to be a connection there because like
So like
they're all
that.
canon.
So you have that's going on. You have Jedi and Force sensitive people that are in hiding. You have the beginnings of the rebellion forming.
Mm-hmm.
So those things are just like, I think fascinating. It would be fun to kind of explore that.
Yes. Speaking of more exploration for the Star Wars universe, the next coming show is the Rogue One prequel, right? Starring Diego Luna. Yeah, so that one's also coming out pretty soon. I guess technically that also might qualify. Nicole will probably say no.
Yeah. She's like, no more Disney properties.
And as she's going to enjoy Disney World.
Yeah.
The irony, right? But I think on some level maybe we should like tone back on how much Disney we consume. But you know what? Disney is basically our leader. They own so much IP. I thought the show was fun to watch. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it did because Mandalorian great, but the Book of Boba Fett was such a letdown. I stopped watching it, so I kind of assumed it's just like obviously this can go either way. And I'm very very happy to say it's just like this show was a fun watch. So I recommend it if you guys haven't seen it, but you most likely have because I think it's one of the more watched Disney Plus shows. So if you watched it, please let us know what you think. Hit us up on Instagram at Remakes, Reboots, Revivals. We're also on Facebook, Remakes, Reboots, Revivals. And you can also slide into our Twitter DMs, twitter.com/Remakes Podcast. And send us an email. We love hearing from you guys. We have a few frequent writers who love to praise me, which I always am here for, except when those writers who have praised me decide to like go against me for one time. And I'm just like, why? Why would you hurt me? So you guys know who you are. But you can email us. Our email is remakesrebootsrevivals@gmail.com. And we also have a hotline where you guys can leave a voicemail. That number is 862-248-2326. That's 862-248-2326. You can't see this, but I didn't look anywhere to read that number. That's all from memory. It only took 2 years. Eddie, anything you want to say before we wrap it up?
Nope.
No? You're content?
I am content.
All right. I am content as well. So with that said, guys, have a good one. And until next time, stay an original.